And I'm back. Before we get started, please like, share, follow, subscribe. Don't Be Sorry, Be Better podcast. I have a very special guest, a friend of mine, former professional hockey player, music, singer, songwriter. You may know some of his songs, Sing You to Sleep, Eyes Were Blue. He's the man responsible for the Don't Be Sorry, Be Better podcast theme song. He is my good friend, T-Finny. What's up, bro?
What's up, bro?
Welcome to the podcast.
You look good. Are those real glasses?
No, they're blue light glasses. I average
Should
I think
I put mine on?
you can put whatever you want on. I think I average like 10 hours a day of screen time at least. It's pretty crazy. It's
Yeah, that is.
probably not healthy.
Mine keeps going up
Yeah.
because I've been sleeping less and less. I just find myself on my phone 24/7 now. I'm actually addicted to my phone now.
Yeah, I'm definitely kind of like a robot. It's like an extension of me. It's crazy the amount of screen time. Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited because like you're the first guest that I've ever had on the podcast. Like I've obviously done the podcast with like Ronell and Theo, but like I've never actually like had a guest to like interview before. I mean, I've done
Yeah.
stuff like that with like the sports stuff, but like it's just different. So I'm excited. I'm happy you're here. I
I'm
want
happy
to
to
like,
be here.
yeah, I want to like get into like your background and stuff, but obviously we're like, you and I are very close friends, and we've been friends for it's almost 6 years now. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah.
I still remember meeting my favorite Lex bro in Midtown Manhattan
Shitty corporate job.
at the worst place of all time.
Cheers to
But
that.
but seeing you made it better.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Being a former professional hockey player, corporate life back in the hockey. Let's uh let's let's talk about your hockey life. All right.
My
So
hockey life.
yeah,
How far back are we going? Are we going back to my trauma as a child, or are we going?
let's. I mean, you could go as far back as you want, but let's like go with like start with like a basic. Like what kind of hockey player were you like actually? Like who would you compare your style to? Um, and then I'll tell like my funny story of like watching you play.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, obviously, I took hockey very seriously. Like, for people that don't know me, obviously, um, I grew up a Devils fan, and I grew up admiring Scott Gomez, and I feel like you know him as the Rangers Scott Gomez, which is a totally different guy than the Devils Scott Gomez. Just putting it out there. Um, but yeah, like undersized centerman. I hit a growth spurt like pretty early on in my life when I was 14, which was timely because it was my first year that I made it to like the AAA level, which is the highest level that you can play at as a young hockey player. And yeah, like I used my size to my advantage because that's around the time 14 years old is like around the time when you can start hitting. And I used my size to my advantage, played up, with 18-year-olds and whatnot. And then when 16 years old hit, I realized that I hadn't grown in 2 years and everybody else did. So I needed to kind of change my game around. Um, and I kind of went back to my roots of, being admiring Scotty Gomez and playing like him. I switched my game very much from like a goal scorer and like that type of guy to more of like a depth player, more of a playmaker. I always you know I hinted at like the childhood trauma. My dad was really hard on me and really strict and stuff, but but it paid off because I was always, even at the college level, even when I played pro, I was always one of the more skilled guys on the team. Whether it was my skating, whether it was my stick handling, and I use that to my advantage, just being a playmaker. I don't
I think
follow hockey as much anymore, so I don't know like who would be like that now. But
Scott Gomez would be a good. I
yeah,
think that's a good. And it's funny because I met Scott Gomez a couple times. I hung out with him
no
once.
way.
Yeah, it
I
was
heard he's
funny.
an animal.
He's a savage, an absolute savage. So back in the day, this is I don't know, over 10 years ago. I was at a bar in Sag Harbor, and
Of course you were.
there was a bunch of hockey players there, and they were like, they were there till like the bar was closing. So we were like there. They were like telling stories. It was like I forget what the guy's name was, but he played for the Devils and he played for the Islanders and the Bruins. And like he hated Sean Avery. His name was like Matty Mateau or something like that. I think that
Mm,
was his name. So like he would fight Sean Avery every time they played. Like, and we like pulled it up on the TV in the bar and we're like watching his fights. And like they were there for like a charity golf thing. And they're like, hey, just so you know, don't close the bar. Scott Gomez is on his way. He's like taking a blade from the city. He's like finishing up like the NHL coverage like broadcast, and he's like taking a helicopter, and he's gonna come and drink with us. So like, so I'm like, yeah, right. This guy's not showing up. Sure enough, like he walks in the door. It's like 2:30 in the morning, and like off season. It's not even like summer or anything. And he like walks in, and we're like drinking. He's like telling stories. And like there was this one time where like they were playing the Kings, and he was on the Rangers, and he was a healthy scratch from the game. And we were like, what the heck? What's that about? So I'm sitting with him, and I think of that moment, and I ask him, and I'm like, hey,
no.
yeah, I swear to God. I go, hey, remember like when you like played the Kings and you were a healthy scratch? Like, what was that about? And he goes, oh, and his buddy like slaps him. He's like, you got to tell the story. So they get into town and they have like a rare like off day the night before. So they like go out. He They're partying whatever the night before the game. He wakes up the next day in like a house somewhere in like LA where he has no idea where his like clothes are, his phone, nothing. Doesn't see a phone anywhere in sight. The person that he went home with isn't there, and like he's like stuck in this house for like hours trying to like figure it out. By the time like she came back from like wherever she was doing, it would have been like 3 or 4 hours. He had missed like morning skate and like was a healthy scratch because of it. I was like, that's the best story I've ever heard. But yeah, to circle it back, like your play style, it was really funny because like when you're like friends with somebody and you like obviously in the capacity that we met each other working in like finance, like corporate America, and you're like,
Corporate
yeah, yeah,
America.
and you're like, I'm leaving to go play professional hockey. As much as like, we had that conversation, you were like torn between whether you should do it or not, and I was like, this bullshit ass job will always be here.
Literally.
Yeah, no
That you
matter
like
what.
you are just not to cut you off because you should finish that story, but you are the reason why I went back to play hockey, and I'm eternally grateful for that.
Yeah. So like when you like you don't know, I don't know if you were a good at that point. I didn't know if you were a good hockey player or not. You just tell me this thing, you're gonna go chase a dream. I'm like, yeah, go chase the fucking dream. I'm older than you. I get it. Like absolutely. But then like going to like your game and like the week prior you were like away and you got into like a fight and you like got beat up. And I was like, man, you're like kind of small to get. You're like, no, I'm not. Like you don't know. And then then I go to your game and I watch you play, and I'm like, man, you got to be like Breadman. You have to be like Panarin out there. You got to be like the facilitator. You got to be like creating. And like I finally like watched your game for the first time, and it was like very easily like distinguished of like being one of like the better players on the ice, like hands down. You're like the fluidness in the way that you skated, it just looks different, when you like see somebody that really like knows how to play like any sport, it just looks different. It's like it's like a major league batter when they hit the ball, it sounds different coming off. It's like you could just see like your skill and like how like finesse was really your game, and like it was really fun to watch, and it was like nice to like. I don't obviously like. I could say be a part of because I'm like go chase a dream, but like at the same time, it's like to see like how miserable we both were in like that shitty corporate job, and then to like see like you like thriving and like you know, which is awesome. It's awesome to see. Which I think also like brings up like this like, music, because I feel like, you know, for like the listeners like that don't know your music, we're gonna turn them on to your music because you're really talented, like songwriter, you're really talented um musician. So like to see like the layers of talent that you have as a person be wasted at some bullshit corporate job. I'm so happy that neither of us are there anymore.
Shout
Um,
out JT though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Shout out JT. But yeah, so like, let's segue into like how music and like with athletics, like how does that like kind of like have you
Yeah.
always been musical? Have you always been like have you always done music?
Yeah. So for background, my dad was always like very athletic, very sports driven, and my mom, she was classically trained on the piano. So back, my obviously, I mean, not obviously, I'm Russian, and my family grew up in the Soviet Union, and in the Soviet Union back then, unless you were like the top 1%, you were just like a regular person. And so if you were like, say, for example, they would call it like master of sport. If you were like in the top 1 percentile, you would get an opportunity to go to a sports school, which is essentially school where you learn all the basic stuff, but then you also spend an exuberant amount of hours training your specific talent. Whether it's like you're a boxer, you'd be boxing. You're a hockey player, hockey. Music, you'd be in music. So my mom actually got into this music school. Her and her cousin. Her cousin actually made it further, but my mom, for a while, she trained in this musical school. So she's very, very talented, way more talented than me. And my dad, on the other hand, he was a master of sport in, I don't remember what sport it was, but he was a master of sport in something. But if you, at a certain moment in time, some of the masters of sports still have to go to the military and be in the military like everybody else. And then the top 1% of the 1%, they end up being on like the Russian Red Army team for the Olympics and whatnot, for whatever sport. And that's why, back then, the USSR fucking I don't know if I'm allowed
You
to
can
curse, my
curse.
bad.
You can curse. That's fine.
They dominated in like the Olympics for a really long time in all sports, like gymnastics, rowing, hockey, like all that stuff. Because they really, first of all, they were picking from like what, 17, 18 different countries, but they were also, the top 1% of the 1%, and they would just train nonstop. We're going to school learning like English, math, and all that stuff. They're just learning hockey. And so that's kind of like my background. And my dad really, to his credit, really pushed me in everything that I did athletically, that I really wanted to like win over his approval for a really long time, and be like good enough for him. Um, and my mom always kind of like, she was the caregiver, and she always was just like, oh, this and that, like
She's the
my baby,
best.
blah. Yeah, she's the best.
Yeah.
But music always was kind of on the back burner. But when I was kind of by myself and trying to, put my thoughts down. Like some people meditate, I didn't know anything at that time, but like some people meditate, some people do yoga, like we were talking about, some people write in their diary. I turned to my guitar and I would kind of, write these songs. At first, they all sounded the same and they were all brutal, but, but the meaning was there. And the most important thing was that I was just getting my thoughts out of here, out of my head. And the more that I wrote, the better I got. And you know, I don't know how old I was, but when I was let me think, 2016, 10 years ago, I was probably 20. Um, I put out kind of like a couple of songs, and I was going through a breakup, and I put out a couple of songs, and then not only did it help me get over the breakup,
Why is
not
heartbreak such a big motivator for
dude, because
songwriting?
everybody gets heartbroken. Everybody has dealt with heartbreak. It's like a universal thing. Everybody has felt it. So, it's sad sells.
Yeah.
And so I put out this kind of album. It was like all acoustic. Um, and not only did I get my ex back at the time, but I also started getting a lot more female attention. so in my mind, I was just like,
At,
all right,
at
maybe there's something
at your age was probably a key motivator, right? You're like,
dude.
oh, it's like
When you're
this.
20 years old,
Yeah.
think
Like,
about when you're 20 years old
it's a life hack right there. You're like, I can sing and write songs.
and
Girls
play
would love
hockey.
and play
Yeah.
hockey at a high level. Girls would
Yeah.
love to sit in my dorm room and listen to me play guitar.
Dude, exactly. And I was like living away from home at the time, and like my whole entire thing, bro, and it's going to sound crazy, but my whole entire thing was I would invite these girls to our hockey game, then after we would go out for a little bit, then they'd come back over. I played them like half a song on the guitar, and then that's it. Game over. So I was like, dude, this is unbelievable. And I started writing more and more because, my whole thing was like I had to know the basic, like, oh, can you play Wonderwall? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But then like you want to hear a song that I wrote, and then, so then I would go into that, and then I started writing so much that I was just like, man, like I need to figure out how to produce music because I have all of this music written, and can't afford to just like go to a studio, take time and pick out like which songs I want produced and whatnot. Um, so when I went to college, I went to college to play hockey. Obviously, I started kind of like teaching myself how to produce, and then right around like COVID time, when like the whole world shut down, my mom, who's a saint, bought me my first like mic, and then I asked her for like basically a loan to like sign up for like a production course. Um, which shout out to Timothy Coakley, who is like my mentor for music production. He's
Yeah.
uh
Shout
he's
out
in
to
a
you, dog. I
yeah,
love
he's in a pretty well-known band called Summer Drive. They're
it.
like indie rock band. They're freaking amazing. Um, so I took that, and then it was kind of like, after that, when I was playing pro and living with a couple of the guys that you met, I was living with, I would I would make like these demos, and even they who like knew nothing about my music, they would like listen to the demos, and sometimes they're like, bro, like what the hell, like who knew?
Yeah.
So yeah, like when I got traded to Detroit, basically at the end of the year, there was a expansion draft in our league, and every team could hold on to 10 players, and I was the 11th player on the list. So
Damn.
my coach and GM kind of called me in, and they were like, look, we want you to stay here, but unfortunately we can't keep you, and you being the player that you are, that's like pretty much right there, you're going to get picked up by a team. You can not report and then come back here, but like nothing's guaranteed, or you can go there and sign a contract there. So I got traded to a team in Detroit, the Motor City Rockers, and basically the coach called me, and he was like, "Are you coming?" And I was like, "No, you will never catch me in Detroit full time, no shot." And he
Yeah.
kept calling me for a few weeks, and I just kept saying like I'm not going. But then at that point I was like, I'm also just not going to go back to Danbury. So at this point I just decided that I was going to retire and try to pursue music, and here we are.
I love it.
Yeah.
So between obviously two high pressure situations of like, playing professional sports, but then also like creating or releasing music, like what do you find what did you find like more difficult? Is it like the pressure of like delivering in sports, or like your own like mental like timeline like of producing and releasing music?
That's an interesting question. I actually I've never thought about that because it's so similar, but it's so different. And the other thing is that when it came to my sport, like hockey, because like I've told you before, like now I train MMA and I'm like the worst in the gym by far.
Yeah,
Like I can get away with my strength and stuff, but I'm actually getting mangled. Like I
yeah.
am getting tossed.
You got to enjoy that
Uh,
process.
yeah, no, I love it. Besides the fact that I can't walk sometimes because of my
Yeah,
back, but
yeah.
other than that,
Embrace the
uh,
suck. That's what they used to always say when I
yeah,
used to do
and dude,
jujitsu.
I love it. Just like as a former competitive athlete, like you need that, and just like the band of brothers that I immediately gained at that gym, um, those are like 20 people that I mean, I want you to meet them at one point, but they're just like immediate connection,
Yeah,
and just like immediate just brothers. It's like it's actually even closer than when I went to college
yeah,
to play hockey because when you go, when you're on scholarship, when you go to play a sport in college, you're immediately, you have a friend group immediately.
mhm,
But at the same time, everybody's kind of competing for the same positions there. So it's like, you're my boy, but I'm gonna fuck you up because I want that spot. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Here, it's not really like that. Everybody's training for their own purpose, and like we're getting each other better by pushing
Yeah,
each
I
other.
find I find especially in like the jujitsu world, MMA world, it's like the best guys are the most humble because they've been humbled so many times. The climb up of like progression of like becoming good, it like you get absolutely destroyed, and like you have no ego. You can't be arrogant. Like the guys that suck, in my opinion, the ones that I've like rolled with in the past, like the ones that suck are the most arrogant. Like the ones
Yeah,
that are like super nice, those are the killers. And they're like,
yeah,
and it always rings true. Like those guys, like they're humble for a reason because they put the hours in, they put the work in, and there was a guy better than them for a long time at the gym before they became the best. And like that's how you like differentiate like a really good gym and a really shitty gym.
yeah.
If a gym has like a ton of ego and a ton of arrogant people and like dickheads, like it's usually a shitty gym.
Fact. And like everyone at this gym is competing, whether they're starting their pro careers or they're like already, like our coach Gary Boletto Jr. He's going to be fighting for the belt at bare knuckle at BKFC.
What are
Like
those
he's
events like? You've been to a few.
Dude, insane, insane. I was gonna bring a girl there one time, and then I was just like, well, I should go check it out, myself first. I'm so glad that I didn't, dude. I'm so glad that I so much blood.
The brutality of it, or you would just be like, "Oh,
The
I'm gonna lose my chick to, to the guy that
I
just
mean,
dominated in a
a
fight."
little bit of both. A little
That
bit
was
of
like when
both,
I
but
that was like when I
dude, it's
brought my
brutal.
friend to the hockey game, and then all the hockey guys were wheeling her. I'm like, I don't need
I
to be
remember
here.
that.
I don't need to be
I
here.
I remember that.
She's very talented in her own right. We'll get into our intro song that you guys created, but
Yeah,
yeah, those bare knuckle FC. I've only watched them. I've never been to a live event. I mean, I've been to like
it's
boxing
insane.
matches and MMA like fights live, but I've never been to a bare knuckle fight. It looks crazy.
Bare knuckle is crazy because it's like I love UFC, but like watching like these guys, one punch could literally just like kill someone because it's just like your bare knuckle. You like
Yeah,
that padding on the UFC on the MMA gloves don't really do much,
yeah.
but it's much different than a knuckle coming from one of these guys.
Well, it's like the angles of it, the cuts, right? The cuts are there's
Crazy.
so much more damage. And you think about it,
Mhm.
like so much more like significant striking to the face that like people just look brutal after those fights.
And people don't even get it. Like unless you've actually fought, like you don't get it.
Yeah, people always ask, like I I don't have a background in fighting. Like I trained MMA for a little while. I did jujitsu for a number of years, And there was like, oh, like, why didn't you stick with it? And I was like, one, I wasn't good. And then two, I got punched in the face by somebody that knew how to throw a punch. And I realized that it's not for me. And
Yeah.
I was like very honest about it. Like, I don't know, that's a pretend tough guy. Like, I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be in the UFC. It was like all the people that I was around at the time were all like training. And I was like, oh, yeah, I want to train. And then it
Yeah.
was like, nah, I'm not getting beat up like this 3 times a week. It's not happening.
That's me right now, but I don't know. I'm sticking with it because I don't know. It's just to my point, you know, I'm still new. I want to learn like the new skill and whatnot. And an essential skill to know how to, you know, like my dad asked me the other day, like I was at sparring and I got, not only did my hip come out again because my hip comes out if I just like turn the wrong way these days, but my
Like it
my
actually like
my
pops out of place.
yeah, yeah,
Is that a
just
hockey
from hockey,
injury?
like
Yeah.
yeah, from hockey. My body's just messed up down there.
Ah,
Um, but you know, I was rolling, and not only did my hip come out, but I also got an elbow to the face, not on purpose. We were just rolling, and I got an elbow to the face. And my dad, of all people, who's much different these days, she's like, why do you even do this? And I remember telling him, I was just like, because I'd rather get fucked up in the gym than in real life.
yeah. 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 I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, if you know a little bit of something, you're always in a better position than knowing nothing, right? And it's
Hmm.
like that's also like part of the part of training. It's like you get comfortable in uncomfortable situations, right? So then like most people would tend to think that like, oh, you train to fight, so you must be an aggressive person or you must be out looking for a fight. It's like, no, it's like you avoid confrontation more than ever because you know what you're capable of.
Hmm.
You know, the biggest
Yeah,
times
I'm
like I've
looking out for you by not
yeah.
doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's that like moment of
exactly.
confidence where people are like, "Oh my god, like put your hands up. This guy's going to beat you up." And you're like, I'm going to fold him into a pretzel. Like, what are we doing?"
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you
okay.
walk different. You walk
Yeah,
different
it's like
now,
the
like,
the
I
Joe Rogan like story is like when you trained like a little bit and like someone tries to fight you, he's like, all you gotta do is wait, you know? You
yeah.
block defense. It's like you're 30 seconds in, the guy's breathing heavy. He's like, oh, you thought you were gonna beat me up. It's like
Yeah.
it's just like that. It's like, yeah, it's awesome. It's actually crazy that like you went from like well, actually, it talks to like the mindset of hockey players because like my hockey players, like in my opinion, like I haven't been around as many as you have, but like are like savages. You know, just like even like the way that like the NHL moves when it comes to like injuries, right? They don't even disclose injuries. They're like lower body injury, upper body injury. That's it. You're like, you don't even know what it was. And then as soon as the season ends, it's like every guy gets like 4 surgeries. And you're
You
like,
wanna know
what?
why you know why they do that, right?
Because I don't know. Tell me. I want to know. Tell me everything. Let's go.
They do that because hockey's such like just a messed up sport, especially like when it comes to playoffs. Because if you notice, and I don't know if the show does this anymore, but for a while, like at least when I was growing up, they would disclose the injuries like early on in the season, but they wouldn't disclose it like later on in the season because hockey's such a brutal sport that if somebody knows that, like for example, you pulled your right groin or like you know you popped out your right knee or something, guys are going to knee you in that knee on purpose. They're going to like go for those spots knowing that those are your vulnerable positions and they're going to take you out for the rest of your life if they could at that point in time when they're chasing that cup or whatever.
Yeah.
And which is kind of like the way that, you know, brings me back to like my whole college experience, is like these guys are your friends and stuff on your own team. And like in a game, you know that they have your back, but even in practice, man, like you're literally fucking each other up because
Yeah.
it's like you're in my spot right now, so I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
And that's just and that's why they don't disclose the injuries because guys are just gonna say, you know, an elbow injury, dude, you're gonna that elbow is gonna be targeted all game for the rest of the season.
Yeah. And they always say like, for a hockey player to like miss a game, he's got to be like almost missing a limb,
Yeah, you
And
can't.
I always thought it's crazy like the end of the year, like being like diehard sports fan, like diehard Ranger fan. It's like the moment the season's over, which was very early for us this year. I don't think we ever started. You
Yeah.
see like four guys. They each get like three surgeries apiece as soon as the season ends, and you're like, holy shit! It's like, how does that
Mhm.
guy like glue on his limbs to like play that game? And then
It's
going into like
it's
the MMA
weird.
world, you know, I
Yeah.
don't know if you watched like the last UFC that with Strickland and
Oh
Chimaev.
my god, crazy fight, by the way.
He had a fucked up shoulder, and he still took that fight. You know,
Yeah.
the Tuesday prior, he injured his shoulder. He separated his AC joint, and you could tell in that fight, like, you know, he's a like a puncher, right? He's like a
He's a striker.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's a striker, but he's like he throws a lot of punches. So he's like he didn't throw his right. Like he threw it one time and he wobbled Chimaev, but like you could tell like something was like up with him. And then after the fight, of course, he's like, "Oh yeah, I separated my AC joint on Tuesday." You're like, "Holy shit, dude!" You're like going into a fight with an actual killer, and you're like 70%, maybe sixty five
Yeah.
percent. Like that's wild.
Right.
Yeah,
No, that fight was so sick. And yeah, I saw this crazy stat that all the UFC belts this year are all strikers for the most part, whereas like for the past couple years they've all been grapplers. So they're like, is this the year of the striker?
yeah. I think it's like if you have good takedown defense, I mean, that's where you have to like build your base from. It's like these like Dagestani wrestlers, right? Like they're all
2 3 years Dagestan, forget.
yeah. Shooting, right? It's like finding that position to like get you to the ground. But like I think that the sport has evolved so much in like years past, you could be like a really good wrestler and not a good striker and become a champion, or you could be a really good
Minimum.
striker and
Yeah.
not a good wrestler. Now you have to be like really well rounded. So like if you're
Yeah.
like a world class striker, you have to be like a world class like takedown defense guy,
Mhm.
because if you get taken down, like you get dragged into deep waters, you got to be able to get yourself back up. And I think that's where like Strickland really excels. He excels like he got taken down, but like he fought his way. Like he was fighting the hands the whole time not to get choked out, but also like positioning himself to get himself back up. And it's
Yeah.
like, you know, that's one of like the hardest parts. It's like you watch some of these fights where it's like 8 minutes of like of ground control, and you're like, God, this fight is boring. But you're like, that guy is dominating that guy
Yeah.
and holding him down. And like you think those little punches and elbows aren't doing shit, but like no, like they're like, you know, he's forcing his will on this person. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
No, it's wild, and my ground game is my weakest link right now too, because I before I started taking hockey like super seriously, I was a competitive taekwondo. Like I feel like a lot of people misconstrue taekwondo because there's a lot of like BS taekwondo schools out there. But my master at the time, Allison Yamaguchi, yeah, his name was Allison, but he was like this Brazilian Japanese dude. He was a two time Olympic silver medalist for Brazil, I believe. And he kind of like took me under his wing, and he started taking me to like I qualified. I made Team New Jersey. I got third in nationals. Like I was fighting. Like it wasn't just like you do a bunch of forms and break wood and then you like get the next belt. So I have that kicking background. So like we do at our gym, we do a bit of Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and MMA. So I still to this day like my kicks are just like lethal. And it's
Got
like
them
it's
Joe Rogan
almost,
kicks.
dude. I mean Joe Rogan would fucking put me in a pretzel, but
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 he has a
something like that.
taekwondo background. I think the misconception is like when you think of, unfortunately, taekwondo, you think of like that overweight beer belly guy that's
Exactly.
like can barely get his foot like over his waist and like really shitty like board breaking competitions. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like anybody that like really took taekwondo, or anybody that's ever been like around like real taekwondo, like you know the aerobatic, the I don't know, acrobatic like type
Yeah.
kicking, and like, you know, the aerial maneuvers and stuff like that. Like I grew up with a kid who was on like the USA national team, really talented, and now he's like I don't even know what he does now. He's like a sponsor, like a brand ambassador for like Karate Combat,
Oh, nice.
and like he's like he was like when we were like little kids, he was like doing backflips and stuff, and like
Yeah.
breaking boards, like those videos of like the
In the
guy that
split.
like
Yeah.
springs off somebody and like does
Yep.
all that crazy stuff. And it was like you could see like the obviously talent there, but
Yeah.
like building the foundation of like proper form of being able to
Exactly.
throw a kick, like any like a side kick, whatever, just being able to like generate the power you need to, like having a taekwondo background is obviously very beneficial because you've drilled that kick, you've
Yeah.
drilled that form, you have to like get your hip up to like be able to like
It's helpful because like I know when to kick.
yeah,
Like I know when to strike and like and punch and stuff, but like I know when to kick and I know when I can use that. Like even now at the gym, like I win some fights just because their kicking game is so weak.
yeah.
It's something that is helpful to me. But when I was 12 years old, my dad basically was just like, okay, you got to pick one. You got to pick taekwondo or hockey because like we can't do this anymore. Um, and my master at the time moved down to Florida, so he was like, we're either gonna follow him to Florida or you're gonna play hockey. Like up to you. Mind you, at 12 years old, I was a I was a nothing burger hockey player, and I was a hell of a fighter. So to everyone's surprise, I was just like, a stupid 12-year-old kid. I was like, but I love hockey. I love hockey. So my dad was just like, my mom and my dad, they were just like, I mean, all right, he is a kid, so let him do it. So I picked hockey, and then a couple weeks later, my dad comes back, and through like the Russian community is very tight, especially in sports. So my dad comes home one day, um and I had just done like a trial training with this like private coach for hockey, and he was just like, how was it? I was like, oh, it was like really hard. He goes, you got 5 weeks with him this summer starting next week. I was just like, five weeks? He was like, yeah, 5 weeks with this guy. And like this guy coached like Ilya Kovalchuk. I met Kovalchuk. I met Yashin. I met like a lot of these like superstar hockey players at the time, and was training with them as this dumb 12-year-old kid who like had boogers coming out of his nose. Um, the way that it would start, and it was sleepaway camp on Long Island. I've told you about this. We played at we would do the ice
When you fight
sessions
the
at
rinks.
Superior. At
Oh, so
Superior Ice.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But we would wake up so every single day in the morning, and if any of my boys watch this from then, they'll know we used to call it Hell Camp, um, because every morning we would have to run 6 miles, and it was Monday through Friday. Friday, if we had a good week, we would run 4 miles to start the morning, but we ran 6 miles to start the morning. If you came in last, you dude, like you were just like verbally abused. And then right after that, based off of the last person, we would go straight into like sprints, like guys holding you back and sprints, and we would do like some crazy stuff. The guy was in Afghan he was in the Spetsnaz, the Russian the
Special
Soviet
forces.
Union special forces in Afghanistan.
Scary
um
guy. Scary guy.
Dude, like the scariest, the worst. Like you have no idea. Also, barely spoke English, so like for the American hockey players, terrifying. Um, Even to the Russian speakers, terrifying. But we don't even have to get into that. He made us do like we would do this drill that would emulate like if you would get hit really hard to be able to skate and find the puck. We would do somersaults. We would do like 10 somersaults in a row, and then we'd have to run in a straight line, which like it sounds ridiculous, but it's so hard because you're
Yeah,
so dizzy.
yeah,
And um and if you didn't like go into a straight line, he would literally physically like fucking body you. So like you got to be ready to avoid, like you'd be running in a straight line, and then you'd have to be like ready to avoid his body, or you're just like, this guy's a truck. Like you're gonna get hit by Alex Ovechkin, like if you don't run,
Jesus.
if you don't figure it out. um and then like right after that, so it was 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We would drive to the rink, and then we would be on the ice for 3 or 4 hours. We would do like power skating, then we'd do stick handling, I went from, which to my dad's credit, again, like this is stuff that he just figured out. I went from when I was 12 years, or when I was 11 years old and I made this decision, I had 9 goals on like my A team. And then I came the next year to my double A team and I led the nation in scoring. I had like 167 points. Like over one summer. Cause as kids you develop quick too.
Yeah, yeah.
But and then, like I said, when I was 14, I made AAA and then, off to the races. But to answer your question from before about like the music and hockey, I got to a point where like hockey, even now hockey's like second nature to me. Like I feel more comfortable on skates sometimes than I do, out of my skates. So of course there's pressure, and a lot of that pressure actually comes from inside of your own head in both spaces. um, and I think that that's been my biggest like work in progress in music as well, and things that I've learned now could have helped me in my hockey career as well. But the mental battle is equally, if not more hard, um, in music for me, because I haven't been doing music as long as I've been doing hockey. I haven't trained as hard as I've trained in hockey. Um, and in music, like, you don't even know who your competition is. In hockey, like when you start going up the ladder, it becomes kind of like a pyramid. Everybody knows everybody. Like all high level hockey players, for the most part, like like the amount of guys that are in the NHL that I'm just like, oh yeah, like I went to camp with him, or like he was just texting me. Like
You can name drop. It's okay.
I don't have to, but
So that was
but
that's what I was gonna say, because like in hockey, like when you are setting expectations or goals for yourself, there's something to look up to, right? So like
mhm.
when you're doing your music, like from a creative standpoint, like do you find it hard to set expectations or goals because you don't know how high to set them, or do you just say like everything else, I'm shooting for the moon, like how does
Yeah.
like how do you create your creative goals with like
Yeah, it's like I'm almost less competitive in music, which is why I think that I have gravitated towards like the MMA gym and stuff, because for a while when I retired from hockey and I started pursuing music very seriously, and I don't know if this is to my detriment or not, but I started treating music like hockey, and I was like ultra competitive in it, and it was making progress, but it almost felt like it wasn't going anywhere, that I burned out.
Mhm.
And I burnt out because, well, probably at that point I wasn't skilled enough. I wasn't mentally tough enough. And I just like didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't have much help. And it's an ever changing game. Like music is also about like a lot about like who you know and all that stuff. And I didn't know that. I went in there blind, and I was just like, if I'm gonna be the hardest worker, then I'm gonna be the hardest worker, and I'll figure it out. Didn't really work out that way. And when I started putting out my project this year, which, it was basically like 2 or 3 years since I put out music, and now I'm putting out music pretty regularly. I took a whole entire different approach. Not only do I know that my music is better now because I'm more seasoned of a musician, and I've produced for other artists now, and I've gained some experience, but at this point, like, I realized that music is it's a blessing, that I'm able to make it. And I put out music, and from time to time I'll get like a message, or either a DM or something from a random person, and they're like, I love this song, like this song, this and that. And for whatever reason, that's all I need to motivate me to put out another one, because I make this music mostly for myself, and when I release it, that means that it's for anyone and everyone to hear. I don't even listen to my music that's out anymore. Like if it's out in the world, then it's like I hope that this resonates with at least one person. If it did, then I did my job.
it's funny. I was listening to your music when I was like kind of like curating like the questions I wanted to ask you, and like how to like transition things into like this episode, because like
Yeah.
I haven't listened, like I haven't like it's not that I don't listen to your music. I just haven't heard it in a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it's in my Spotify playlist, and I like jump on and like while I was like doing this, I was like, oh, I forgot that this song's a banger. Like, obviously like "Sing You to Sleep" is probably like my favorite. The
Yeah.
remix,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
got the little housey vibe to it. But like, let's talk about like your creative process. But let's talk about specifically to like "Don't Be Sorry, Be Better's" like intro music and how
Hey.
like when I came to you and I was like, listen, I want to like I was either gonna get copyright infringement because I was like I want to use like samples of this, this, and this, and like luckily like you were like gracious enough to be like I have a little bit of time, I can help you with this, and I was like, and it came out better than I could have even expected.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. You sent me, and this is actually kind of like to the point of just the experience side of things. Is like if you came to me when I was playing in Danbury, for example, I don't think I'd be able to come up with something for you. I'd throw something at the wall and see if it sticks and be like, hey, this is what I think sounds cool. This is about as good as I could do. But you sent me a couple of reference track. I don't remember what it was, but you sent me like two, I think, examples of songs that you want it to sound like.
Yeah, it was
And
it was a it was a young Jeezy like intro, and then like I think it was like Jay-Z encore or something like that. I
yeah,
think it was those two.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I took that, and then obviously like I like podcasts, so like I know kind of how it works. Like it can't be like a full song or anything like that. Um, and I took basically like the elements of those reference tracks and made them my own. Um, and then obviously added Via's vocals to
Yeah.
them,
It's
which was cool, and it was the cherry on top. It was
yeah.
exactly what it needed.
Yeah. It was
Um,
actually like awesome to like have like friends like that are in music that I could just be like, "Hey, I need some help," and then them not like be too busy or like too just be like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 I'll do it." For you
too
especially, I
big
was
league.
like, I got it from you like so quick. You're like, "Yeah, I got you." I was like, it's real
Yeah.
friendship. I appreciate the real friendship.
Hell yeah,
But
bro. I love you. So like I wanted to do that. And like that's kind of part of my mentality with music is I think that music is for everyone. I think that music is timeless, and I think that music brings people together. So like for example, when you came to me, not that I wouldn't do, anything for you, that, but when you came to me for that, I was just like, this is a real opportunity to like be a part of this, and like obviously you needed it. I didn't want you to get in trouble. But you needed to be good too. So I was just like, I'm gonna put in some effort, and hopefully he loves it enough that it sticks. And when you loved it, like I loved that you loved it, and that made me fulfilled. It's not like I was doing it for a certain price which somebody else would have done, right? um I don't know. I'm still at the point. I think that at some point maybe it'll change, but I'm still at the point where I enjoy every single collaboration in music. Like I just had a country artist come through here the other day. He was on American Idol, and we wrote music together. And I think that and hopefully he hears this and he can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but he came in with zero expectations. Like
mhm.
we had mutual buddies. I go to his cigar bar that he owns out here in Rhode Island. um and he makes music. He has a really amazing voice. Like I said, he was on American Idol, but he mostly has only worked with like professional studios and whatnot. And we were like, hey, come through, let's see what happens. And he came in with kind of the attitude where he's just like, hey man, like been here, done that, super excited, blah blah. When he left, he was just like, man, we got to do this again. I got to take you to my studio out here, introduce you to one of my producers, blah blah. Like he's like you're my guy. You know what I mean? And I think it's because not only the song that we wrote and produced together was really strong, but I still feel that every single collaboration that I do, even if my artist name is not attached to it, I'm attached to it. Like I put my heart and soul into anything that I create still.
Well, that that's amazing, and that's a great segue into what do we have coming up? Like, what you got new music coming out, and what projects are you working on? Like, what's coming up for T-Finny?
Yeah, bro. I'm doing like a song every 4 to 5 weeks right now, which is basically a story, and I don't want to. The whole entire point of it is that people can kind of like make their own assumptions and make their own story to it. So I don't want to like go into too much, but every song that I release is another chapter to a story that's going to all come together with the final song. Um, so like for example, the next song. So the last song that I released, the last two songs, they were kind of like when you're going through a breakup, and the first song, Candy, uh, is kind of like when it was about a moment where I saw my ex from high school in Providence, where I was in college, and I knew that like she saw me, but both of us were just like super awkward around each other, that like I was literally just hitting on every girl around her just to like try to make her jealous. and uh and that song was like kind of about that, where I was just like, I still feel this way about you, um but I also understand that like it's over and there's no point. And then the next song that I wrote is probably the saddest song that I'll put out this year, um where it was basically just like, we're always going to share our moments in the past, but it's over. And I'm like cool with that, and you're cool with that. The next song that I'm putting out is basically about how, like, when I was in college, after that breakup, I went through, I think, a phase that every single man in college that has had their heart broken goes through, where it's just like you're just, you know, just an absolute something else, just
Yeah,
just
yeah,
just a
yeah,
menace, you know.
yeah.
and uh and it's about, when you have kind of a roster, like there's a line in that song where it's just like, I don't even remember it off the top of my head, but it's like clearly saying that like I have a roster, but like I might throw it all away for you, because like this is the girl. And that's kind of like the next song, where it's just like it's called Healing Pill. Kind of like, are you my healing pill to like me being an absolute menace? um, so yeah, the story is,
Someone please come take me out the streets.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Maybe that's what the album should be
Trying
called.
to end my hoe phase.
Yeah. But the whole project is kind of about like that self-discovery that I went through, and I think that we all are going through, um, on a consistent basis. I think that, um, I'm excited. I'm excited for this one. I'm already working on the next one, which is crazy because I have to like market all this stuff, but I'm so bad at the music marketing, and I'm so just like over the music that I made back there, and the music, and like excited about the music that I'm making now, that it's just like, man, I just want to post my new shit, which is totally different than my old shit that I need to promote so that people can listen to and fall
Well,
in love with.
hopefully this platform helps with that. Obviously, it's not the biggest platform, but we do have some loyal followers.
Hell
So
yeah.
tell the people where they can find you. I will link everything in the bio. I'll link in the corner. I'll put some stuff in the overlay for it. But where can they find you?
Um, I'm at Finney Records on everywhere. I don't really. You can follow me on TikTok, but I'm trying to stray away from TikTok. My whole For You page is literally just opening up your DMs, Rich. I'll go on TikTok. I have like 50 DMs from you because I haven't been on it in like 4 weeks.
Yeah, I just between Instagram and TikTok, it just my algorithm is just filled with heat.
No, it's amazing. You curate my whole entire thing, because I'll go on, like, I don't go on it as much. So like 4 weeks I'm not on TikTok. I open up TikTok. I have like 55 messages from you. By the time I go through all those videos, I'm like, I got to get off this platform. But at Finny Records on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube.
Yeah.
Um, and at T-Finny T-Finny on all streaming platforms where you can find my music. And
Well,
yeah, I'm
I
super
think on
excited.
that note, that's a good note for us to cap it off on. I appreciate you coming on. This was fun.
Yeah, man.
And yeah,
Not the last time.
Don't Be Sorry, Be Better podcast is back after a long break. T-Finny, don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe. And see you soon.
Peace.